So let me explain what one-to-one representation is. So we're talking about one-to-one. So this is a very simple concept. There's nothing that is over your head. This is a very simple concept that a 10-year-old would understand. In fact, I believe you probably had this understanding of representation when you were 10 years old, and we just had it beaten out of us. So I'm talking about one-to-one representation. And that's what I'm calling representation, because when you talk about what's going on, we're just simply not represented. We need to have representation. So all we need is representation, but people don't understand that we don't have that. So, okay, one-to-one representation, let's call it that then, if that's what we need to do, because there is specifically something I'm talking about when I say one-to-one representation. There's a concept that is key to everything with it's foundational too. You have to understand this from the beginning. This is something we don't have anywhere in the world. We've never had representation, and this is how you have it with one-to-one representation. So I've tried to make a sentence that explains it as concisely, as succinctly as possible. And right now it's 11 words. So when I say the 11 words, I don't know if this will be the final sacred 11 words. Periodically, each member may transfer their voting power to any member. Let's look at a breakdown of this sentence. Periodically. So that lets us know this is something that happens on the regular. It can be monthly, annually. The idea is that you have a unit of time so that you can choose your representative, that you see how they behave during that unit of time, and you go, oh, I like this guy. You keep voting for him. You don't. You choose someone else. So that means that we have recurring amount of time has to be something that's determined. You don't have to see, it should be understood, everything that's not stated. Obviously, that implies there's an amount of time we decided. Each member, so there's a group. This is for representing a group. So you should already understand that this is for representing a group. Like if you say Gesundheit, that means someone sneezed. So you're talking about representing a group, this is what you would say. So everyone understands that. No one needs to be told, what member we're talking about. We're talking about a member of a group that we're going to represent. But each member, no one's left out, in other words. So if you're saying, well, children shouldn't vote, okay, then you're saying the membership is adult. Whatever your membership includes adults. So may. So this is a voluntary process. This is the beauty of it. This accounts for anyone feeling anything about anything. If they don't like this system, they hate it. You hate any kind of order. You're a complete anarchist. Absolutely fits you perfectly. Because what this says is you may do this. If you don't, you keep your vote, your voting power. So everyone has a voting power is an understood statement. I don't think we need to say that. We have a group of people we're trying to represent. Everybody has a voting power. That's understood. Everyone is a unit of themselves. They are one person. You have voting power. So I don't want to include that. It's understood. So you may do this. Transfer your voting power. So you may transfer your voting power. That means your ability to vote for yourself is not anymore because you've given it to someone else. You've transferred your vote to another person. So if you've done that, you don't have your vote anymore for that period of time. You've chosen to represent yourself with someone else. If you choose not to do this, and you don't say anything, you've kept your vote, and you've chosen to represent yourself. You're transferring the voting power to any member. So you can transfer it to any member. This annihilates all of the nonsense that we're taught about that there has to be losers, that there has to be a ballot, there has to be a nomination process. Everything you've been taught is just absolute. It's brainwashing for the current system, so it's not bad. I mean, it's good brainwashing. You're educating yourself for this current way of doing it. But our current way of doing it is not representative. It's unrepresentative. It's intentionally made to keep the masses from making decisions. But the problem is we need to choose a representative to do these things for us. So what this allows us to do is choose a representative. If, let's say you're completely competent, you pay attention, you're a retired person, you have all the time in the world, you're completely focused on local elections. You know, I live in Austin. So if I was just completely all about Austin local elections, I would vote for myself. I would never vote for someone else. I know exactly what's going on. But if I had a job and I was unable to keep up with every little tiny petty thing that's going on in City Hall, along with the federal government, along with a county, along with everything else in the world I've got to do, I would choose a representative, someone who appears to be competent to me. This is why it's beautiful. It's total freedom. What I need from you right now is to understand that concept. That's all, just those 11 words. Do you agree to those 11 words? You think that's what we should be doing? If you say yes, even alone in your own house, you are saying yes to something. You are agreeing to something. That is real. That would mean something. And that's the thing, is that we need a body of elected representatives in order to find out what we want to do, what we are able to do. And this is not about replacing the United States government or something necessarily. Of course, you could replace this with the House of Representatives. That's well off. That's 150 years from now. Right now, you would just simply be able to form this, in the next 50 years. What's going to happen is forming this as an informal body, like the Senate was just an advisory body to Rome, right? It was just an advisory body. It just so happens that they had all the power. They were all the powerful men that had complete control over their entire families. So that is powerful because they're just hanging out in a room. So if you have everyone that is every citizen, adult citizen of the United States, just happens to have a body of elected representatives, and even if only 30% are represented by this body, that is extremely powerful. That is where the rubber meets the road. Just simply coming together, we realize, oh, this many people support this and that. Things just happen. In fact, once this happens, you really won't need any more tax money. You can just get rid of it because people will now realize, oh, we want to do these things. I like building roads and putting money towards building roads. I like killing people and putting money towards defending ourselves. It all works out when you have everybody kind of going for what their needs are. Homo actio, human action, just solves the problem. People solve their own problems. If you think people should choose their representative, that's what we're saying yes to. We don't have that now. So if you still think we have someone that you choose your representative, think about it. Did you choose your representative? No, no one would ever choose the people that are in charge for their first choice out of anyone. You basically have to put the effort of a revolution, an effort of a military battle to get basic things taken care of, like close the border from illegal immigration. Like 90% of people agree you should close the border. 90% of people agree to 87% of people agree to 87% of things. I think of it as 7/8. 7/8 of people agree to 7/8 of things. So as soon as we come together in any form of this, it grows because you have representation and you don't have it anywhere else, unless they're using one-to-one representation too. So there will be competing organizations using one-to-one until one wins out and all that. So understand that you want your opposition represented because you want everyone represented, but only to the amount that they actually exist. If people are pretending to be a larger number, that's not what we want. That's what we have today. We have small groups that have power as if they were a large faction. It should be 1-to-1. If there are 500 people up in arms over something, it should be 500 people's worth of up in armsness. You see, there's a measurable amount here that we're talking about. So in other words, when you look on TV and you see someone talking to you, we need to know this is a person that represents how many people? 35? That ain't nothing. If you're watching national news and there's a person with 35 next to his name, that's insane. Well, why is this guy only represented by 35 people? But that's what it would be. If you were to actually see how many people would choose, for instance, these journalists as their representative. Now, you could have, so when they invite a representative of a group on, that would have that number. But everyone, even in fields like journalism, you could have one-to-one representation with journalism, where each person, each member of the United States, a citizen, adult citizen, chooses a journalist. that they have faith in, then that journalist has one-to-one representation powers over, whatever. It's all it is just simply we see how many people actually would choose this person out of anyone else. And if you had 1 or 2%, that is phenomenal. That means 1 or 2% of people are choosing you out of any other member, out of their grandmother, over themselves. That would be so powerful. That's genuine representation. So when those people speak on an issue, it is real. It is very close to the real, what we're tapping into. How do people really genuinely believe in real life? So you don't have polls anymore. You don't have debates. You say, we have to have debates. Why do we have to have a debate? A debate is for introducing a candidate that the establishment wants to run. Who is this person that I'm forced to vote for? You see, you wouldn't have any of that. You allow people to choose who they want.